What is up, you awesome kisters? It's CistReactZ, guys. Today we're reacting to Game Theory. Poppy Playtime will end sooner than you think. So make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the Game Theorist, and comment down below. By the way, my Twitter was hacked from the 19th all the way up until today. So if you got a link by me saying that I'm making a game or something like that, that's completely fake, and don't click the link. But my Twitter's back in my hands. But yeah, just don't click any links saying that people are making games and that you need to type in a password to access the link. Don't do none of that. All right, here we go, Bop.
Playtime. Chapter 4 may have only been released
because I am interested in Poppy theories and I need to hear what Game Theory has to say about it.
Are a few small details that not only tell us where Chapter 5 is heading, but how this entire franchise is going to end. Spoiler alert, this ending is not a happy one.
Is it ever a happy one?
Hello, Internet.
Prototype's about to go crazy in Chapter 5.
The show that molds to whatever new lore Poppy throws at us. And there is a lot of that going on in Chapter 4. Mob clearly saw the success of Chapter 3 and said, let's do that again, but more. We've got more characters,
Chapter 3 was
more
horrifying,
collectibles,
man.
and the most important thing, more game-breaking bugs.
I should open with my P-coin.
Open.
Game-breaking bugs.
I'm wealthy. Let me in.
Mob Game said that's a bug.
I'm wealthy
if
is
you have
crazy.
your hands full of P coins. Sorry, sad face.
I found the P-coin bug.
But while the gameplay
Imagine spending all that
broken,
time
how
just
is
to
the
find out
game
it's a bug
lore
on Twitter.
doing? This is the 4th installment after all, and that's about the time where the indie horror lore can get a bit wonky, shall we say. Well, I'm happy to report
Super
that
wonky.
it seems like Mob is learning from our FNAF frustrations, because this chapter is full of something we theorists crave.
Lore.
Clarifying details.
Never mind.
Things like, what is Poppy's true identity? Well, it's now confirmed that she is in fact Elliot Ludwig's daughter.
I wish you were here, Dad, when you were running this place.
I like how
Always knew
specific
what
they
to
got
say.
to
Is
when you were
Ollie
running
really
this
the
place.
prototype? That answer is now a resounding yes.
What did you do with Ollie?
I'm right here, Poppy. For you. I'll always be here.
We called both of those, by the way,
Hella.
but truly, this chapter is stacked with answers to questions that we've had for a long time. So much so that this video is going to be the first in what I anticipate will be a 3-part series exploring all of
Three-part
them to figure out
series?
what's coming
Uh-oh.
down the Poppy pipeline.
Game Theory's starting to
if you
stack
don't
more
wanna
on
miss
Poppy
all of that,
Playtime.
You better smash that subscribe
Like they're
button
doing
faster than
FNAF.
Doey could smash up Pianosaurus. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh my god. Poor Pianosaurus, man. He got screwed over.
I'm still mad about that. Such wasted potential. But to kick things
Screwed
off, I
over.
wanted to focus on one
Everyone's
of the
mad
biggest
about it.
questions you can ask about a franchise like this.
But I
How
mean,
is
like,
it going?
we're mad about Pianosaurus not being a thing, but like, what was it really gonna do? It was small. What was it gonna do? Chase us all over the place? Unless it can get really big like Doey did, I don't really think that it was gonna really do that much. I did hear though that they like promoted it in different ways though, the Pianosaurus, so
to end. We've
maybe that's
seen
why
it
people
with
are
other
mad.
franchises, how they just go on and
Or there could have
on
been, like, a
and
bigger
on
Pianosaurus
and
somewhere.
on. So it can seem like an impossible task, but thanks to a few very specific, potentially offhanded details,
Oh, they just called it
I
lore
believe
book right
Mob
off the
has
back?
accidentally given the entire game away. I've spent 2 weeks falling down a rabbit hole that is deeper than Playtime Co. could ever be, and that in
God.
itself is a theory for another day. But once I finally landed at the bottom, I realized
Bro,
that
how
we
deep
can
is
not only
Playtime
figure
Co?
out how exactly Chapter 5 is going to end, we can also learn what's going to happen beyond
He just made me
that,
think about
regardless
that.
of whether Chapter 5 is going to be the final chapter or not.
Like, deadass, how
grab your
fucking deep
OmniHand
is that
theorists,
place?
Because I'm going to show you things that Mob never intended for you to see. If you haven't had a chance to play the latest chapter, here's a quick recap so that we're all on the same page. The game picks up right where we left off at the end of Chapter 3. We head down an elevator shaft with Poppy, who tells us about the allies that we need
Sorry, I
to
was moving
find.
stuff.
Upon doing so, we come face to computer with a new experiment. Experiment
I wonder if I should skip, 'cause I already know
1354.
everything.
Although while their
But it's a good
body may
recap,
be new,
refresher.
their voice is oh too familiar at this point. Harley Sawyer, the Doctor, the villain that has been teased throughout the entire Chapter 4 ARG.
Why does bro have
He
my
then sends us
haircut?
down into the prison where we encounter Pianosaurus, who, as I've mentioned, dies immediately
Justice
thanks
to
to another
Piano.
new experiment. Doey the Dough Man, a creature made from Play-Doh with 3 kids inside of him rather than the usual Level 1. Doey leads us to a place called Safe Haven, where we reunite with Poppy. She tells us that her plan is to send the whole of Playtime Co. sky high, killing the prototype and every other toy in the facility in the process, while also trying to save the orphans the prototype has hidden in his lab. Doey is hesitant because he doesn't want to
is she
kill
gonna blow it
all of
up
these
after
poor
they leave or
innocent
during
boys.
it?
But
That's the real
regardless, we
question.
head out only to be chased down by Yarnaby, Harley's lapdog, who then immediately dies.
Or lap lion. I don't believe that shit's a dog.
Beginning to see a pattern.
That thing looks like a damn
After
lion.
many puzzles and an annoying battle with an underwhelming Barbar Chops, we once again come face to screen with Harley, shutting down his systems and putting an end to him once and for all. His final words to us are that we saved no one. But that doesn't matter now. We get to fulfill Poppy's plan and set the explosives to destroy everything. But they don't destroy everything. They only destroy Safe Haven and all
Safe
the
Haven, man.
toys inside. In a fit of rage, Doey transforms into a horrifying salamander thing for some reason, and he tries.
Like, we gotta be asking questions too. If 3 kids can make something that big, I wonder, like, what is the maximum amount of kids they put inside of a toy?
to kill us, only for us to flip the tables and kill
But I guess
him
then again,
first.
it is
Guys,
Doey.
I think Poppy
Like,
might
Doey
have
can
a
change
Marvel
himself into,
villain
like,
problem
big clay
here. Great
things.
villains all killed off in the installment they're introduced in? Shame. Anyway, after defeating Doey, we find Poppy in the vents, just as the prototype shows up to, quote, take her home. Poppy runs away, leaving Kissy and us behind as the prototype blows up the vents. But instead of killing us, we end up at the entrance to Playtime's lab, the place where the prototype and the orphans dwell. Like I've said, there's a lot going on in this chapter, hence multiple videos. But today's mysteries start in the place we visit the most during our playthrough, Safe Haven. According to a note, this place was designed with blast doors and its own electrical generator in
doors.
order to keep the Playtime Co security
I
staff
didn't realize
safe
those were
should an
blast
experiment
doors.
get out of hand, which I think we can all imagine happened quite a lot. All of that has made Safe Haven the perfect spot to hide out from those same monstrous experiments like Yarnaby, Pianosaurus, the Doctor, and the Prototype, alongside our new allies. Now, we all knew we were getting an ally or two in this new chapter. Mob made that very clear on the game's Steam page, and
New
once
enemies
the
and
Doey trailer
allies.
came out, it felt pretty clear who that was going to be. Little did we know the full amount we'd actually have waiting for us here in Safe Haven. Yes, we have Doey, Poppy, and Kissy, but this place is full of toys, and none of them are trying to eat my face, which is a nice change of pace, but it did raise a few questions for me.
I mean,
Up
they were
until
all
chapter
talking like
4,
they
the
wanted to
only
eat you,
toys
though.
we'd seen firsthand were either dead or were looking to make us dead. Even Kissy wanted to snack on us until Poppy stopped her in chapter 3. I mean, I know I look like a snack, but this is not
forgot
the time.
that.
In fact, Poppy is
forgot
the
Kissy tried to
only
eat
one
you.
we've known who wasn't trying to do that. That was part of what made her unique. She was the only experiment to act like a human with no aggressive tendencies, at least not towards us. But now we're being shown that she wasn't the only one. Right at the start of the chapter, we can find journal entries amongst the pile of dead toys for a child called Riley. They're a sweet kid who lost their parents and so ended up at Playcare. After some time, they were, quote, chosen by Playtime, which they thought meant getting adopted, but oh no, they
Oh
won
no,
the grand old
adopted
prize of
and
becoming a living toy.
adopted
What's
into a
interesting,
toy.
though, is we get to see entries
That's crazy.
from after
Stealing
their
orphans,
conversion.
man.
Riley struggles
They were
to
crazy
write
for that
at
shit.
first, however, they do eventually figure it out. And with that, we can see that they are fully aware, fully themselves, and not an aggressive monster. Later on, we can find a VHS tape from 2 guards talking about their various duties.
You know what we get in the East?
Oh, this
Toys
one was disturbing.
banging on the walls, crying for their parents.
The crying
Know
for their
what we
parents part,
get
that was
in the North?
disturbing.
Things, whatever they aren't people anymore.
The East is lower security, full of toys that are crying for their parents. They are aware of who they are and have memories from their life before, while the North is for the dangerous monsters, the bigger bodies that we faced throughout these chapters. Reports on Pianosaurus and Yarnaby both talk about their lack of cognitive function and animalistic tendencies, so it would make sense that they need to be in a higher security area. But then, what is the difference difference between them and some of these other, less monstrous experiments? Simple. Time. As time went on, things did somewhat improve. Huggy is a monster, but can at least listen to orders. Kizzy is also a monster. She's only not eating us because, like Huggy, she's following orders. Catnap is kinda able to communicate. Mummy is fully functioning,
Poppy didn't
albeit
tell
with a bit of a
Kizzy to
temper
kill you
towards
at the end of
adults.
chapter
As
4.
time went on, the experiments improved. By the time we get to chapter 4, there are a bunch of toys, including Doey, Experiment 1322. All of them are starving, and yet they do not look at us as if we are going to be their next meal. It seems like Playtime Co. did figure out a way to keep the orphans' humanity, as well as figuring out how to make them fit into much smaller bodies like Poppy. Something which Harley mentioned during the ARG was a challenging task, leading to Boxy Boo and the larger, bigger bodies in the first place.
God,
However,
Huggy's
there
design
is
just
one
looks scary,
small
man.
hole in this line of thinking. If these later and smaller experiments are supposed to be more human-like, why then have we had a bunch of mini Huggies, smiling critters, and nightmare critters, smaller experiments that are implied to have been later in the process, acting like rabid monsters? Was Harley just really bad at his job, failing to keep all these children's brains intact? I don't think so. Was it because while they were doing the experiments, they weren't listening to the chillest beats on the internet? It's entirely
what?
possible. While Barbie exists in
Bro.
this universe, I'm not sure whether the soothing tones of our lo-fi
Bro, how do they always merge lore or merge game theory and lore together like that, man? Did I say lore again? I meant to say, how do they merge their sponsorships with their damn game theory so well? It's so funny. Like, it just came out of nowhere.
from. But seeing as the Doctor doesn't have this and he's not surgically
Gotta wake my brain
incompetent,
up.
I don't think either of those explain
Dumbest
why these
YouTuber
new
out here.
toys are still rabid. Although I am convinced that Harley definitely has something to do with why they're acting like this. I'm sure that while I've been showing clips of Safe Haven, you guys have noticed the wall art all around the place. I mean, it's pretty hard not to, right? The devs were really trying to make sure we
Look
noticed
here.
it, and so I did my theorist duty and gave it a closer look. A lot of it has the kind of messages we might expect to find. Help us.
Will we be saved? It's
And
crazy.
a massive mural of Catnap putting the orphans to sleep. But the thing that caught my eye the most was this little side room known in the game files as the Memorial Room. Inside, we see a bunch of poppies and candles around the place, paying respects to those they've lost, which, according to some
That's
of the writing,
insane.
is around 40 toys.
40?
40 children. And the rooms
I didn't even
in
know
this
that.
room are also painted
I've seen the
with
room, but I didn't know they
murals,
wrote
and those
40.
actually give us more insight into this story of death. There are two sides to the drawing. On the left, we have characters
damn.
highlighted in blue. Some alive, including Kissy Missy, but others are dead. On the other side, we have characters including Boxy Boo and Pianosaurus highlighted
losing.
in red. These two colors, along with the inclusion of the bigger bodies we know and recognize, is showing us two opposing sides within these toy factions. Blue is the side of good, the side of safe haven, while red is the side of evil, the side of the Doctor, and thanks to a special VHS tape, the side of our favorite villain, the Prototype.
You know I'm still your best shot at cracking that secret. A sound observation. Yes, you have made yourself useful.
There is a literal war going on between these two factions, and the good, non-rabid toys are losing. But there is one more side in all of this, one that they believe is going to even the odds and help them win. The one character they've highlighted
Poppy.
in white, surrounded by phrases like, "We need you, Poppy." We've talked in previous theories about the amount of religious symbolism in Poppy Playtime, with Catnap's worshipping of the Prototype, and the Doctor's poem in the ARG reflecting Psalm 23.
Huh?
And this is another example of that. While red and blue are typically ways of showing opposing sides, white represents something pure, something holy. Like Poppy was supposed to be the savior to these
What
toys.
the hell?
She was the perfect toy, the daughter of
I didn't
Elliot
realize they
Ludwig.
had, like,
Surely
religious
she
type of
could
showings
do
in there.
something to help them, but she didn't. She ran away, and because of that, we see those murals of Poppy crossed out. Outside the memorial room is another drawing of Poppy crossed out with questions like, "Where are you?" But the biggest thing we see are the words, "She left us." If you go and listen to the toys around Safe Haven, many of them talk about whether they should trust Poppy. Why would this time be different?
Can we really trust her this time?
Poppy has left them all with a feeling of betrayal and hurt. This is where the Doctor comes back into the picture. signature. There's a note you can find called the propaganda flyer, and it reads as follows, quote, Poppy leads you to the grave. You fight not to survive, but to die. See where this has gotten you. It's not too late to change your mind. Join us, and we will spare your lives. You have 24 hours. We will not make this offer again. This sentiment about Poppy being trouble, we saw shared by Harley Sawyer during the Chapter 4 ARG.
They're actually making
in one of the
war
many
propaganda
email exchanges, he
for
claimed
toys.
that her path leads to ruin. Plus, this new note is located just outside the Doctor's territory, which makes it seem like this is coming directly from him. He is seeing the weakness in the group left behind by Poppy, and so he is trying to exploit that weakness. This is why I believe we're seeing so many of these smaller, newer toys appear rabid. They were starving, losing the fight. Their savior had left them, and so they were in need of a new one. Prototype was willing to step in and fill those tiny doll-sized shoes. He gave them a clear option: turn their back on Safe Haven, give in to their base instincts, and lose whatever humanity they had left.
My
Just
God,
like how
that was a lot
Kissy
of editing
stopped
for a
trying to eat
20-minute
us because
video.
Poppy told her not to, these toys are now trying to eat us because the prototype told them they could. Eating their fellow toys and other human remains may seem gross at first, but when it's that, or dying of starvation, or worse, the choice is sadly pretty obvious. And then, if they held out for long enough, maybe, just maybe, the prototype would save them. Honestly, I kinda don't blame the toys for making that choice. I've always been suspicious of Poppy, as longtime viewers of the channel will know at this point. And right at the end of the chapter, she proved me right. She ran away again when things got tough, leaving us to die. She may not have run to help the prototype like I predicted, at least not yet.
Everyone's kind of expecting too much out of a damn kid.
Something.
How much do you know?
When your supposed savior acts like that, of course the opposing deity becomes quite appealing. And the prototype does actually follow through on their threat, blowing up Safe Haven at the end of the chapter, killing anyone left that opposed him. But that doesn't mean that those who switched sides are safe either. This chapter also makes it abundantly clear that he is as much of a liar as Poppy is.
I thought we were gonna leave. Prototype says we can't leave. Not now, not ever.
Just like we saw in the CG5 song from
though?
Chapter 3, the prototype promised freedom to these toys. That's what they thought the hour of joy was, but it wasn't. He was just lying to achieve his own goals. Him getting the toys to leave Safe Haven and join his side, it's the exact same thing. And he'll betray them just like he betrayed Poppy, which I guess means it's up to us to step in, be the savior that neither Poppy nor the prototype could be. We will save the orphans that the prototype has tracked down here, and maybe we'll even be able to save some of the toys who changed sides out of desperation. Here's what I would say if the game hadn't already telegraphed exactly what's going to happen next. See, as I was thinking through this whole Civil War storyline, I went back through some of the dialogue
three
in the
endings for the
and
game,
I
too.
came across this line from Harley before his boss fight.
Do you hear it?
It would be interesting to see what a bad ending is like.
Does it all think?
This isn't the first time Harley has spoken like this. He's always been a fan of speaking poetic in a greater-than-thou dramatic sort of way. But this time, it's different. It's not just a poetic styled phrase. It's an actual piece of poetry. The phrase "for whom the bell tolls" comes from the poem "No Man is an Island,"
Bro, I'm about to
published
learn
in 1624.
poetry lore.
It's about how all of humankind is connected.
Poetry
that the
history.
loss of one life doesn't just affect that one person. It affects all of us because we are connected. If one dies, a part of us dies too. So when we hear the bell of death sound, it's pointless to ask who it's for, because at the end of the day, it's for us. This feels fitting given it comes just before our big boss fight with the Doctor, who says he hears the bell and asks who it's ringing for, knowing full well that we
It's
are about
crazy
to
that
put
you
an
just,
end
like-
to him, but that we should.
It's crazy that it seems like in game theory, like in the offices, they gotta read all this poetry and all this side stuff when they're like doing research for video games. It's actually like pretty insane that they have to do that.
maybe reconsider,
They gotta learn
because
history,
his death
every
would be
manner
a
of
loss
thing.
for the whole of mankind. His scientific
Insane.
endeavors, his discoveries will now be lost. However, while this poem is one of the first places the phrase "for whom the bell tolls" was used, it isn't the only time, nor is it the most famous. That honor goes to the book of the same name by Deadpool. Is that you? Oh, no, it's just Ernest Hemingway. My bad. Anyway, this book is about a guy from America called Robert. He goes to Spain to fight in the Spanish Civil War being fought by the Republicans and the Nationalists. He sides with the Republicans, who currently are losing the fight, and so joins them in the mountains where they're hiding away. His main companion throughout this story is a woman who has lost her parents and was taken advantage of by the opposing side. The Republicans plan to turn the tides of this battle, blow up a bridge. But there's deception from within their own ranks, and because of that, they lose some of the bombs and their way of detonating them. Now, where have I heard this before? Oh, right. It's literally the game
It's really
we're
crazy
playing.
that they're
Our
linking
player
this
character
to
is an
Poppy
outsider to this
Playtime.
toy war. We side with Dowie and Poppy,
it's
who are
actually
losing
crazy.
the battle and hiding out in safe haven away from
Like,
the
I bet you
Doctor
the
and his
devs need to
forces.
think this
Our
hard
main
about
companion,
it.
Poppy has lost her dad and was
It's
lied
just really
to
interesting
and
to see how far
tortured
game
by the
theory goes with these
Prototype,
things.
the leader of the opposing side. Ollie was supposed to be our friend, but it turned out to be the Prototype lying to us, and so we ended up losing the bombs and not igniting the gas as we planned. But let me tell you, theorists, when I first read this, my mouth was almost as agape as a smiling critter. These stories are practically one-to-one, minus one crucial detail.
It's actually
the
crazy
ending.
this man
We
read
are
this
yet to
whole
see
book
the
for a game
ending of
about
Poppy Playtime.
possessed
and as we end the
toys,
chapter
man.
heading into the Prototype's lair, the labs, it seems like that ending is coming up pretty soon. But For Whom the Bell Tolls does have an ending. And given how closely aligned everything else has been so far, I have a feeling that means Poppy is going to end in a similar way. In the book, Robert decides to go on the final assault of the bridge as planned, just with some minor alterations. Because they lost their main means of detonating the bombs, he's going to have to be right up close in order to set them off. He does manage to do so, but shrapnel hits his comrades, he gets fired upon by the enemy, and he suffers an injury so great he is unable to retreat with his team. He tries to remain awake as long as he can in the hopes that he can maybe shoot down a couple of enemy soldiers to allow his friends to escape, but he knows that his death is inevitable. The bell now tolls for him. At the start of chapter 4, Poppy told us how the red smoke can be ignited and that the bombs were our way of doing that. However, we've now lost our primary means of detonation. The Prototype took the bombs and used them on us instead.
We've taken the liberty of retrieving those explosives from the foundation.
Why did I not realize the
Thanks
Prototype
for
took
guiding
those
us.
explosions, man?
But that doesn't mean we're out of options. In chapter 3,
I guess my brain
Catnap
was still trapped
spewing
on
the same
Doe
red
at the
gas,
time.
and with
I didn't
one
even
shot
realize
from
it.
our electrified grab pack hand, he too burst into flames. You may be able to see where I'm going with this. Much like in the book, our main character is going to fulfill their promise to Poppy and blow up Playtime Co. using the red smoke. We're just gonna have to be close enough to use our grab pack hand to do it, sacrificing ourselves so that Poppy
I just
and
don't
the
even think it's
orphans
that
can
deep.
escape. Only that
But hey,
isn't
it's just a
actually how the
theory,
story
though.
ends. I mean, it is. The book's ending is purposely left ambiguous, but the story the book is based on, the real-life history, that continues on. I mentioned earlier that this book is based on the Spanish Civil War, which ended in 1939. And if Poppy Playtime is following that history, our heroic
Some kid's gonna
sacrifice may be
excel
for
when they
nothing.
have to read
Despite
this
the good
book
fight put
after
up by
watching
the
Game Theory,
Republicans,
dude.
ultimately, it was the nationalists that won the war, with the leader of the movement, Francisco Franco, not only surviving the entire war, but going on to lead the country until 1975, 36 years after the war ended. We may
someone's gonna
put up
know
a good
all them
fight.
damn
We may even be
answers
able to
in
destroy
history
Playtime
class
Co.
because
like
of Game
Robert
Theory,
destroys
bro.
the bridge, but I believe that ultimately we'll be shown that Poppy is once again misinformed. The Prototype won't be stopped by a simple explosion, and in the end, while we may die and we may save the orphans, the Prototype will survive and continue with their plans for this world. What are those plans exactly? Well, that's what I plan on exploring in one of our future theories. So again, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, and in the meantime, friends,
That was an interesting theory, but like, I still don't know if like a book about, or the book For Whom the Bell Tolls is that deeply connected to Poppy Playtime. But yeah, that doesn't mean it can't show similarities. But I don't even know, bro. That's just crazy. Like, I just learned about the Spanish Civil War and fucking in a book. Like that's the shit only Game Theory will do. Like no other channel does. Only Game Theory does it, and that's why it's special. But yeah, anyway, if you guys want me to watch more game theories and stuff, hit the like button, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.